All right. Hello, everybody. Good
Christ is
evening.
risen.
Christ
It's
is
that time of
risen.
year.
Bright week. So this was Bright Week, right, Jeremy?
No, Bright Week just ended on Saturday, but we are in the period between Pascha and Pentecost.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so
I'm
yeah, technically Bright Week is over.
okay. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So we were just talking about young people wanting to get married. I think there's been somebody talking about that recently. Just a real longing for marriage and family and children and a young man.
I have several godsons in this category,
Mm,
and then our parish is filled with them, with young men
yeah.
who are looking for that. It's it's a little uh, it's wild to watch a young woman come to church for the first time because
Everyone's like,
yeah, she
she
gets a
the
lot of
one?
attention. Yeah,
Maybe she's the
yeah.
one.
I have to
Yeah.
tell the boys, hey, don't spook them. You gotta let them. You gotta. I said it's like a cat. You can't just like come up on a cat and be like, "Oh, hi cat, how's it going?" So the cat will fly, right?
Did you
So
know? Here's
yeah,
something about cats that is kind of equivalent. I mean, women are often described as cats, not in a good way, but um, that
well,
you could be called catty, right?
true. And a cat
Which is
house
uh-huh,
was an old word
right.
for.
But there is the good thing about cats. So I just want to. So I'm going to share it. We try to kill that metaphor, the other metaphors.
Right.
um, cats. So I know several people who hate cats, and they always tell me that when they go somewhere where there's a cat, the cat always sits on their laps, and they
Hmm.
can't figure out why. But there's a reason. Because people who like cats look at cats and they go, "Here, kitty, kitty," and they look at them.
Yeah.
Cats are super sensitive to the predatory gaze because they
Mm.
are predators.
Right. Yeah, makes
So,
sense.
what predators do, and I see this with my livestock guardian dogs, is they don't look. Okay, so
Yeah.
when my dogs approach any new animal on the farm, they'll walk up to it, but they keep their head to one side, so they
Yeah.
never look straight at it. Because that's a predatory gaze and that will frighten the animal. And so people who don't look at cats are declaring peace with the
Mm.
cat.
Right.
And this is why the cat jumps on their laps. So
Mm.
if you don't want a cat to sit on your lap and you don't like cats, stare at them
Yeah.
and they will stay far away from you. And honestly, women are the same.
Hmm. I'll tell the boys at church
You tell
this
them.
wisdom. I will.
Mhm.
It's like just you
Yeah,
gotta let them be
cats,
curious, and
cats,
if you give them attention, they don't want it.
cats also play hard to get,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's a really fine line with a cat about how quickly they're going to acclimate to you if they don't already know you.
Hmm.
So um, you got to build relationship and trust with cats. It's just how it goes.
Yes.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And then they'll decide if you're worthy of it. If they decide you're not, they know you better than you know yourself.
Ah. Although, guys, don't take this stuff personally, right? Like it- it's a
No,
numbers game.
take it seriously, guys. Little self-examination never hurt anyone.
Eh. I'll just put it this way: my wife was not a fan of me the first time she met me,
I
and
wasn't a fan of my husband either, actually. I thought he was an arrogant ass.
well, there you go. That's exactly what my wife thought of me.
I went up to him to make friends with him, and I was
Yeah.
like, talking to him, and he's turned and said something to me, and I was like, "Oh, excuse me." All right.
Yeah. So
Oh.
first
And then I
impressions
tried a
don't
sec
always last, right?
yeah, and then I tried a second time and had the same impression, and then I kinda gave up. I was like, "Okay, forget it." But I had, like I fell in love with him and couldn't shake it.
Mm,
It was so weird.
yeah. Well, he wasn't tricked by your spells.
He was completely oblivious. He was. He was. He was so oblivious, but now I know why.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was trying to fight with me today before we went to town about something that he remembered. I said, "Honey, I am talking to someone who just lost his earbud case like 2 seconds ago. You don't remember anything."
Oh, no. I remember stuff from 4th grade, but yeah, I don't remember what I had for breakfast. So
Oh, it was
uh,
a jab. Was
that's
it? It
fun.
was a jab. Yeah. Yes. So we are. We've got 2 viewers. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Nice to see you. 3.
Christ is risen.
Christ has risen.
And there is a slight mistake on the title,
Oh, is
and
there?
that was a miscommunication on my part. Yeah, it's Saint James, because I wrote the full title, Apostle James, the brother of Saint John the Theologian.
Oh, I can go. I think I can edit it.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, it's so we're going to talk about Saint James because today's his name day, and
Sorry,
then
I didn't
oh,
read
that's
it
all right.
properly. I was in a.
You were in a hurry.
I
It's all
was in
good,
a hurry.
and
Hey,
I didn't notice until
Charlie.
until I came on. But and then we have Saint Tamara, Queen of Georgia, and this is also a beautiful story. And her name day is this week as well, on Thursday. So,
All right. Okay. Well,
Alithos Inesti.
yeah, that's Charlie. Charlie's in Australia. Um, it's kind of cool because I think this is a good time for Charlie, obviously, to watch.
Yeah, it worked out. We caught him on his
Mhm.
walk last time.
Later in the day, right?
Yeah.
Because it's I don't know, Charlie, what time is it there now? He's in Adelaide.
Yeah, I feel a little bad for our East Coast friends. We seem to, a lot of them have a hard time hanging out.
Well, that's because they don't live in the right time zone. That's all.
Yeah, great. Clearly.
I always feel for my Australian friends, like that. Tony is Australian, and he told me recently that he signed up for one of Jonathan Pajot's classes.
Yeah.
He had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to
Woo.
do it.
Wow, it's like an ascetic effort
Oh, okay. Yeah.
to go to a Pajot class. Yeah.
Yeah. See, it's morning now.
Okay.
Oh, what a gorgeous photo. Yeah. Yeah. So this suits the Australians, that's for sure. Oh, East Coast representative. Nice.
Oh, yeah. The tough one showed up. See, none of the rest of you have an excuse. Now you got to judge. So this was a meaning of the word judge that I learned not too long ago, and I think it's really cool. So the judges, the 24 elders in the book of Revelation, 12 of them are the 12 tribes of Israel, and then the other 12 are the 12 apostles. And the reason that they're judges in Israel is that it's not that they're going to be sitting on a chair judging people, it's that they are an example of people who recognized Christ and followed him, right? So they were Jews who recognized Christ for who he was and followed him, and so they're acting as, so the way they're a judge is that they're acting as an example
Yeah,
for
I
those
think that's
who
actually, this is just
rejected him. So what's that?
I preface everything with this is my personal opinion because I don't have a degree. I guess I'd be a little more arrogant if I
Yeah, I don't have a
letters
degree
after
either.
my name or something.
Yeah.
But I'm just a dumb farmer, so I just say, well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I think that's what judging actually is. You know, when I think years ago I gave this example. If a bunch of millionaires got together for a conference to talk about how they made their money and, you know, how they invest and what, you know, and they all have $1 million. And Elon Musk walked into the room, they would be immediately judged.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. That's because he sets the bar higher.
Right.
And I think that, you know, this whole idea of the Santa Claus list, you know, for judgment. Well, I remember, Sherry, when you were 5.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just so absurd to me.
Yeah.
I think, you know, like there's a verse that says every knee shall bow and every tongue will confess.
Yeah.
And the Greek there, and I learned this from Father John Bear, not because I read Greek, is voluntarily bow and voluntarily confess. I don't think any one of those millionaires in that you know fictional conference in my mind would not acquiesce to Elon Musk unless they didn't know who he was, right?
Yeah.
Which is
right.
probably impossible
Yeah.
at this point in time. But so yeah, it's what we do. That's what we do. We're judged immediately by the other person, like you said, who sets the example, who sets the bar higher, right?
Yeah. So, Donnie, you're a judge among your East Coast brethren. You're here.
Or he has insomnia.
Yeah. Or yeah, he's triggered by the light, and it's daylight saving time. So
right.
Okay.
You know what? I can edit my title right this minute. Look at this.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay, let's do that. So it's
St.
James.
It is, yeah, St. James.
Oh, wasn't
St.
just
James.
realized I could do that. I have to put glasses on, otherwise there's 2 of everything. St. James, just St. James?
Yeah, you can just do St. James. I mean, he's St. James, the brother of St. John, the theologian. Or he's also St. James. He's also St. James, Bishop of Jerusalem. That'd be another one. Another title.
There we go. Look.
The first Bishop of Jerusalem.
My title has been perfected.
Sweet.
There you go.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, okay. Let me pull up a prayer.
Yes, please.
Illumine our hearts, O Master, who lovest mankind with the pure light of thy divine knowledge. Open the eyes of our mind to the understanding of thy gospel teachings, and plant also in us the fear of thy blessed commandments, that trampling down all carnal desires we may enter upon a spiritual manner of living, both thinking and doing such things as are well-pleasing unto thee. For thou art the illumination of our souls and bodies, O Christ our God. And unto thee we ascribe glory together with thy Father, who is from everlasting, and thine all-holy good and life-giving Spirit, now and ever and unto ages of ages. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so today, yes, we will start with, let me share my screen. I'm still, every time we do this, I'm a noob. It's like I've never done it before. I'm always like, what?
Because you can't remember anything unless you were 4.
Hey! Man, it got personal quick.
Okay. I'm gonna
wow.
I'm going to mute myself and shut my camera off for a few minutes.
Okay.
Because I was in a webinar for like an hour before I jumped in here. So.
Okay. All right. Apostle, so St. James, his name day, I was incorrect, is not today, it's tomorrow. Forgive me. So the holy apostle James, the son of Zebedee, was the brother of St. John the theologian and one of the 12 apostles. He and his brother St. John were called to be apostles by our Lord Jesus Christ, who called them the sons of thunder. It was this James, with John and Peter, who witnessed the raising of the daughter of Jairus, the Lord's transfiguration on Mount Tabor, and his agony in the Garden of Gethsemane. St. James, after the descent of the Holy Spirit, preached in Spain and in other lands, and then he returned to Jerusalem. He openly and boldly preached Jesus Christ as the Savior of the world, and he denounced the Pharisees and the scribes with the words of Holy Scripture, reproaching them for their malice of heart and unbelief. The Jews could not prevail against St. James, and so they hired the sorcerer Hermogenes to dispute with the apostle and refute his arguments that Christ was the promised Messiah who had come into the world. The sorcerer sent to the apostle his pupil Philip, who was converted to belief in Christ. Then Hermogenes himself became persuaded of the power of God. He burned his books of magic, accepted holy baptism, and became a true follower of Christ. The Jews persuaded Herod Agrippa to arrest the apostle James and sentence him to death. Eusebius provides some of the details of the saint's execution. St. James calmly heard the death sentence and continued to bear witness to Christ. One of the false witnesses, whose name was Josiah, was struck by the courage of St. James. He came to believe in Jesus Christ as the Messiah. When they led the apostle forth to execution, Josiah fell at his feet, repenting of his sin and asking forgiveness. The apostle embraced him, gave him a kiss, and said, "Peace and forgiveness to you." Then Josiah confessed his faith in Christ before everyone, and he was beheaded with St. James in the year 44 at Jerusalem. St. James was the first of the apostles to die as a martyr. And we commemorate him on April 30th. May we have his intercessions. And we do not have Sherry back, and I'm not sure if I can. I can't. Oh, she's back. Okay, sweet. Because I finished the life of St. James, and then I was gonna do the life of St. Tamara. So we will stop that one, and we will go do this one. And now you can take a break again if you need to. Saint Tamara, right-believing Tamara, Queen of Georgia, and she's commemorated on May 1st, so day after tomorrow. In 1166, a daughter, Tamar, was born to King George III and Queen Berdikon of Georgia. The king proclaimed that he would share the throne with his daughter from the day she turned 12 years of age. The royal court unanimously vowed its allegiance and service to Tamar, and father and daughter ruled the country together for 5 years. After King George's death in 1184, the nobility recognized the young Tamar as the sole ruler of all Georgia. Queen Tamar was enthroned as a ruler of all Georgia at the age of 18. She is called king in the Georgian language because her father had no male heir, and so she ruled as a monarch and not as a consort. At the beginning of her reign, Tamar convened a church council and addressed the clergy with wisdom and humility. Judge according to righteousness, affirming good and condemning evil, she advised. Begin with me. If I sin, I should be censured, for the royal crown is sent down from above as a sign of divine service. Allow neither the wealth of the nobles nor the poverty of the masses to hinder your work. You by word and I by deed, you by preaching and I by the law, you by upbringing and I by education, will care for those souls whom God has entrusted to us, and together we will abide by the law of God in order to escape eternal condemnation. You as priests and I as ruler, you as stewards of good and I as the watchman of that good. The church and the royal court chose a suitor for Tamar, Yuri, the son of Prince Andrei Bogolyubsky of Vladimir Suzdal. In Georgia, Yuri was known as George the Russian. The handsome George Rusi was a valiant soldier, and under his command the Georgians returned victorious from many battles. His marriage to Tamar, however, exposed many of the coarser sides of his character. He was often drunk and inclined toward immoral deeds. In the end, Tamar's court sent him away from Georgia to Constantinople, armed with a generous recompense. Many Middle Eastern rulers were drawn to Queen Tamar's beauty and desired to marry her, but she rejected them all. Finally, at the insistence of her court, she agreed to wed a second time to ensure the preservation of the dynasty. This time, however, she asked her aunt and nurse Busudan, the sister of King George III, to find a suitor. The man she chose, David Soslan Bagrationi, was the son of the Ossetian ruler and a descendant of King George I. In 1195, a joint Muslim military campaign against Georgia was planned under the leadership of Atabeg, a military commander, Abu Bakr of Persian Azerbaijan. At Queen Tamar's command, a call to arms was issued. The faithful were instructed by Metropolitan Anton of Chokondidi to celebrate all-night vigils and liturgies and to generously distribute alms so that the poor could rest from their labors in order to pray. In 10 days, the army was prepared, and Queen Tamar addressed the Georgian soldiers for the last time before the battle began. My brothers, do not allow your hearts to tremble before the multitude of enemies, for God is with us. Trust God alone, turn your hearts to him in righteousness, and place your every hope in the cross of Christ and in the most holy Theotokos. Having taken off her shoes, Queen Tamar climbed the hill to the Meteki Church of the Theotokos in Tbilisi and knelt before the icon of the most holy Theotokos. She prayed without ceasing until the good news arrived. The battle near Shamkori had ended in the unquestionable victory of the Orthodox Georgian army. After this initial victory, the Georgian army launched into a series of triumphs over the Turks, and neighboring countries began to regard Georgia as the protector of the entire Transcaucasus. By the beginning of the 13th century, Georgia was a commanding political authority recognized by both the Christian West and the Muslim East. Georgia's military success alarmed the Islamic world. Sultan Rukn al-Din was certain that a united Muslim force could definitively decide the issue of power in the region, and he marched on Georgia around the year 1203, commanding an enormous army. Having encamped near Basiani, Rukn al-Din sent a messenger to Queen Tamar with an audacious demand to surrender without a fight. In reward for her obedience, the Sultan promised to marry her on the condition that she embrace Islam. If Tamar were to cleave to Christianity, he would number her among the other unfortunate concubines in his harem. When the messenger relayed the Sultan's demand, a certain nobleman, Zachariah, I cannot say that last name, forgive me, was so outraged that he slapped him on the face, knocking him unconscious. At Queen Tamar's command, the court generously bestowed gifts upon the ambassador and sent him away with a Georgian envoy and a letter of reply. Quote, your proposal takes into consideration your wealth and the vastness of your armies, but fails to account for divine judgment, Tamar wrote. While I place my trust not in any army or worldly thing, but in the right hand of the Almighty God and the infinite aid of the cross which you curse, the will of God and not your own shall be fulfilled, and the judgment of God and not your judgment shall reign. The Georgian soldiers were summoned without delay. Queen Tamar prayed for victory before the Vardizia icon of the Theotokos, then barefoot led her army to the gates of the city. Hoping in the Lord and the fervent prayers of Queen Tamar, the Georgian army marched toward Basiani. The enemy was routed. The victory at Basiani was an enormous event not only for Georgia but for the entire Christian world. The military victories increased Queen Tamar's faith. In the daytime she shone in all her royal finery and wisely administered the affairs of the government. During the night, on bended knees, she beseeched the Lord tearfully to strengthen the Georgian church. She busied herself with needlework and distributed her embroidery to the poor. Once, exhausted from her prayers and needlework, Tamar dozed off and saw a vision. Entering a luxuriously furnished home, she saw a gold throne studded with jewels, and she turned to approach it, but was suddenly stopped by an old man crowned with a halo. "Who is more worthy than I to receive such a glorious throne?" Queen Tamara asked him. He answered her, saying, "This throne is intended for your maidservant, who sewed vestments for 12 priests with her own hands. You are already the possessor of great treasure in this world." And he pointed her in a different direction. Having awakened, Holy Queen Tamar immediately took to her work, and with her own hands sewed vestments for 12 priests. History has preserved another poignant episode from Queen Tamar's life. Once she was preparing to attend a festal liturgy in Gelati, and she fastened precious rubies to the belt around her waist. Soon after, she was told that a beggar outside the monastery tower was asking for alms, and she ordered her entourage to wait. Having finished dressing, she went out to the tower but found no one there. Terribly distressed, she reproached herself for having denied the poor and thus denying Christ himself. Immediately she removed her belt, the cause of her temptation, and presented it as an offering to the Gelati icon of the Theotokos. During Queen Tamar's reign, a veritable monastic city was carved in the rocks of Vardzia, and the God-fearing Georgian ruler would labor there during the Great Fast. The churches of Pitareti, Kavatbat, Kevi, Betania, and many others were also built at that time. Holy Queen Tamar generously endowed the churches and monasteries not only on Georgian territory, but also outside her borders, in Palestine, Cyprus, Mount Sinai, the Black Mountains, Greece, Mount Athos, Bulgaria, Macedonia, Thrace, Romania, Isauria, and Constantinople. The divinely guided Queen Tamar abolished the death penalty and all forms of bodily torture. A regular secret observance of a strict ascetic regime, fasting, a stone bed, and litanies chanted in bare feet, finally took its toll on Queen Tamar's health. For a long time, she refrained from speaking to anyone about her condition, but when the pain became unbearable, she finally sought help. The best physicians of the time were unable to diagnose her illness, and all of Georgia was seized with fear of disaster. Everyone from the small to the great prayed fervently for Georgia's ruler and defender. The people were prepared to offer not only their own lives, but even the lives of their children for the sake of their beloved ruler. God sent Tamar a sign when he was ready to receive her into his kingdom. Then the pious ruler bade farewell to her court and turned in prayer to an icon of Christ and the life-giving cross. Lord Jesus Christ, omnipotent master of heaven and earth, to thee I deliver the nation and people that were entrusted to my care and purchased by thy precious blood, the children whom thou didst bestow upon me, and to thee I surrender my soul, O Lord. The burial place of Queen Tamar has remained a mystery to this day. Some sources claim that her tomb is in Gelati, in a branch of burial vaults belonging to the Bagrationi monastery, while others argue that her holy relics are preserved in a vault at the Holy Cross Monastery in Jerusalem. Saint Tamara is commemorated on the Sunday of the myrrh-bearing women in addition to her regular commemoration on May 1st. May we have her intercessions.
Did you have an icon of her? Did I miss it?
There was one at the beginning, but I'll pull one up. Hold on.
Yeah. I think I missed it.
Let's see. 1 second. Let me find one. There's several nice ones. I'll share this. I'll just share this whole page. Here we go.
That's that photo at the top? That's not her, right?
No, that is not her. No.
Can't be a
no. There was no cameras in the 1100s that we know of. So
nice. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. She was feisty. I like it.
Yeah.
Very humble, and sleeping in a stone bed. Try that. If you think you're tough, try sleeping in a stone bed. Sleep on the floor, even. Just sleep on the floor. That's softer. You have carpet. You can sleep on your kitchen floor, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I hear those stories, I always think of camping.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how terrible it was.
Well, the hard part about the stone bed too is that it's cold. It
Oh, yeah,
absorbs
right.
it absorbs all your
What does this
heat.
greenish skin signify? Was there greenish skin? I
I
didn't.
didn't notice. Let me pull it up again. Hold on. Oh, this was just I think it was just the color. Hold on, I will share. I think it was just like a poor photograph of a gold icon.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Is that the one? I wonder if that's the one he's referring to. I
No,
don't
the
see any.
one
Oh no, this
that
one. Yeah,
yeah.
this is just that's called bad white balance on your crappy digital camera.
Yeah.
That's what that is. So here's a little side note on photography. Your eye automatically, like, you adjust all of the colors of the spectrum by, you look at something that's white and you say, oh, that's white, and then your brain just kind of automatically adjusts that spectrum accordingly. Well, a camera, if it doesn't always know which color is white, and so sometimes it thinks the color of light is a different color, and it shoves all of the other colors into a weird spectrum if the white balance isn't right. So that's called white balancing your camera. And in this case, it looks like the white balance wasn't right, and so it's probably what it's set to is probably daylight, and it had light that was fluorescent lights overhead, or halogen lights overhead that make the light look green if the camera is white balanced to be daylight. So there's my former professional photographer opinion of why that icon looks the way it does. But I would guess if you saw it with your own eyes, you would not say it's green. Yeah. No, it's not about aliens.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Georgia has quite the history.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. That's one place I would love to visit. That's on the bucket list.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with St. George as my patron saint, it would only make sense to visit the country named after him.
Yeah, I've got a number of those countries on my bucket list. Like Romania is definitely one.
My priest is taking his sons there.
Yeah.
In June. So
nice.
Yeah, they're going for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know who's more excited, the priest or Presbyteria, his wife, right? So.
And Bulgaria. I have to say, when it comes to Orthodox chants, there's something about the Bulgarian ones that are just so amazing.
Yeah, Bulgarian chant is amazing. Oh yeah, that was a really beautiful. That was a beautiful speech where she was talking to the priests, and it's and that's the head and the body too, right? Your word, my deed, where she was acknowledging the priest as the head and herself as the body of the people. That was a beautiful speech. Let's read it again.
Yeah, let's read it again because I might have missed it. I'm a little silent here because I'm like, what speech?
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. We'll go back up. We'll share it again.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So at the beginning of her reign, Tamara convened a church council and addressed the clergy with wisdom and humility. So she's talking to the clergy of Georgia. Quote, judge according to righteousness, affirming good and condemning evil, she advised. Begin with me. If I sin, I should be censured, for the royal crown is sent from above as a sign of divine service. Allow neither the wealth of the nobles nor the poverty of the masses to hinder your work. You by word, and I by deed. You by preaching, and I by the law. You by upbringing, and I by education, will care for those souls whom God has entrusted to us, and together we will abide by the law of God in order to escape eternal condemnation. You as priests, and I as ruler, you as stewards of good, and I as the watchman of that good.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's well said.
It's beautiful.
yeah, right hand, left hand, two-headed eagle. It's all there. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
There's something like in sort of all these like synaxis that I've always find is like there's there's no hesitation in what anybody ever does. Like when Tamara's father is just like, don't have a male heir, you're a king. You're going to be king. It's like we're not working out any technicalities. There's no dispute. There's no debate. It's just, yep, extremely controversial decision, executed.
Yeah.
That was the privilege of the monarchy, right? To be able to do that. No constitution there.
But
yeah,
like she said, so they didn't view themselves as like, they viewed themselves as subject to the same laws that everyone else was subject to.
Yeah.
Right. This was like the idea of a monarch or a tyrannical monarch was actually a much later development. At this time of like Saint Tamara, the royalty saw themselves as subject to the same laws. Like that's what she was saying there. Like if I fall short, I deserve censure. They didn't see themselves as above the law. They saw themselves as embodying the law.
Yeah. Like what was it? It was in that speech. It was the crown is given from above.
Yeah.
And like that's the whole reason why she was king. It wasn't because there was anyone trying to play a power game or do any power dynamic. It's like because you come from the line of kings, there is no male heir, you are king. It's not like, oh, we have to find another male person come from in. I think that was Charlemagne, wasn't it? It was like they were about to have a king, about to have a queen as their sovereign, and the church, the Roman church, was just like, nah, Charlemagne, you can do it. And then more fruits ended up happening.
Lots of things happened because of that. That opened a lot of doors. I mean, good and bad doors. Lots of things. That was just tumultuous. That was a big change.
Yeah, absolutely. It was crazy. It's such an interesting thing. I read this yesterday. Is this from the prologue of Ockrid?
No, it's it's not directly from there. I'm taking it from the Orthodox Church of America website.
Okay.
The length of their Lives of the Saints tend to be just right for our show, and it's the one that my priest recommended that we share. I don't always use it, but generally that's what I use.
Yeah, nice. I've started doing it because their Synax, like their daily readings, don't have any sort of explanation of like the saints' lives at all. But there was one part in Saint Nikolai's Synaxis for Saint James. He said he was like the thrice revealed apostle, because he had all three. He was present for all three mysteries. The temptation, the Garden of Gethsemane, the Transfiguration, and the Crucifixion, I think.
There was one other. No, it was
only John was present. I mean,
yeah,
officially present. I mean, I'm sure that they all kind of scattered.
He was there for the raising of the daughter of Jairus.
That's right. Yeah, the first resurrection.
Because everyone else was sent out. It was just Peter, James, and John that went with him, went with Christ.
Yeah.
For the raising of the daughter of Jairus, Lord's Transfiguration on Mount Tabor, and the Garden of Gethsemane.
Yeah, that's immense. Do you guys had much thought over why he was called the Son of Thunder? Or him and his brother?
I
Sons of
I don't
Zebedee.
have the right Bible out here. I have one that has church commentary or has commentary by church fathers. Let me go grab it and see what they say. Maybe they'll have a comment on it. That'd be fun. I'll be
I've
right back.
only ever heard, that they were politically active too. So, and they were a little bit hot-headed. That was the.
Yeah,
But I
it's
don't know. I
interesting.
don't know what Jeremy's what the fathers have to say.
Yeah, it's like it's the loud declaratives or something like that. I find it interesting. Like, I'm so new to like really understanding the Bible and the Gospels and stuff like that. And there's like the blessing and the curse of watching The Chosen has been like
Oh, geez, yeah.
my gaps have been filling up. My knowledge has been like become a little bit more comprehensive, and I know when things happen and stuff like that. But it's also just like now those images are fitting into those mysteries, and I'm just like, oh, that's a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Yeah,
I honestly don't. I don't watch it. I think I
yeah,
watched
it's hard. It's like
part of one episode, but I'm funny like that anyways. Like, I even struggled to go see Lord of the Rings because I'd read the book,
of course, yeah.
and I
mm.
knew that I didn't want my own imagination to be replaced with somebody else's. So
Completely, yeah, absolutely. Like the only like I like it to a certain extent because I like midrash. I like seeing other people's perspective on it, and they do like they do kind of say something which I kind of have to agree with, which is like you need the arrogance of a Protestant to go into these areas and just elbows out to make something because everyone else is like so heaped upon by dogma and teaching that it's just like, nope, I'm not touching that. I'm not going there. I'm not doing this. I'm not trying this. And so like, yeah, like it comes with the territory, I think.
yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, it's a personal choice. I'm not condemning anyone for
Oh
watching.
no, yeah, completely.
But,
I mean, honestly, I like Noah more than Noah's my favorite Christian adaptation in the popular screen. I think everyone hates that.
is that the
Russell
one with
Crowe.
Russell Crowe?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like it's like Joe Rogan, Lord of the Rings. But like
I actually liked I always forget his name, the comedy one about Noah with what's his name? It was a sequel to Bruce Almighty.
Oh really?
What was that?
That's awesome. Oh yeah, Evan Almighty.
Evan
Yeah,
Almighty.
with like Steve Carell. I haven't seen that one. Oh
It is
wow.
so funny. Oh my god!
Like it's cool. Like because you get to see those adaptations, like little things can sneak through. Like in the Chosen, they have this really interesting one on what it means to sort of be a servant, where because they loosen everything up and allow everything to sort of be a little bit more, I don't know, melodramatic or soap opera-y. Like I don't know if anybody cares about spoilers, but Peter's wife has a miscarriage while he's following Christ. And it's something that you just don't see, and obviously it happens in sort of everyday life where you run into tragedies, and not every problem will be solved, and to see sort of them confront those kinds of things, that was a very powerful thing. Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, if you do it too much, then all of a sudden then you think of Jonathan Rumi instead of Christ. And that's
and then you get a totally different gospel, right? Because people don't read the book, but they watch the show.
Yeah. It's like you got to remember it's an icon. Like this is meant to go somewhere else. This is meant to point on. What did you find, Jeremy?
Okay. So there is a footnote from St. Basil. It is the Lord who is upon the waters and who arouses the mighty noises of the thunder, causing such an exceeding great noise through the delicate medium of air. The eloquent teaching which leads from baptism to sanctification is like thunder to the soul. That the gospel is like thunder is made evident by the disciples who were given a new name by the Lord, sons of thunder.
So it's almost like, and how they were shaken by the incarnation as well. That's an interesting one.
I'm just going back to this whole idea of portraying things through film. I don't know if I don't know if Donnie's still here. Donnie, if you're listening, I wonder what Judaism thinks about that. Like, are there any because
Oh, like
Ten
they do
Commandments.
Exodus.
Yeah.
Well, Prince of Egypt for the millennials among us as well.
There's a lot of there's a lot of movies out there, but are they made by Jews or are they watched by Jews? Like, this is the thing I'm wondering about.
Yeah, it's interesting because
are
like,
there any guidelines for that kind of thing I mean, there's lots of different kinds of Judaism too, right?
yeah, exactly. It's not like a monolith,
But I'm thinking
and it does
about
change.
Orthodox Judaism.
Yeah, completely. Well, like there's that, you can see sort of the changing shifts in culture between the Ten Commandments and the Prince of Egypt. I remember that was actually because I watched the Ten Commandments like in the last 12 months, and
The old movie?
the Ben-Hur, I think, is in it.
Charlton Heston.
Charlton Heston, that's right. And it's like it's a really beautiful movie, but like there was like so much of the cartoon, The Prince of Egypt, is like shot for shot remaking the Ten Commandments, that it's very obvious the differences.
Yeah.
Like I think it's like Ray Fiennes and someone else in the cartoon, and you see like Charlton Heston's like big burly brick of a human being, and then the Moses in the new one is a bit of a wiry thin sort of cosmopolitan with a beard, and you can like the cultural differences really sing out. But I mean, like Noah is like, I think nobody liked it like that movie. I mean, I loved it, and I remember I think I saw Bishop Barron spoke well about it, because it does kind of go heavy things lightly. Like I don't think the Christian community liked it too much, because it was like it alluded to evolution and psychedelics and stuff like that. But I don't know. I thought it was fantastic. It was just taking the cultural medium that we're part of and just going, hey, just let's converge these different things.
My kids all love Prince of Egypt. They've all seen it 100 times and can sing all the songs and basically know the whole movie start to finish, right?
Oh, it's profound. It's profound. It's wonderful. It's interesting. And I know, like I know this all started because like I like the only bit of like the Sons of Thunder and James and John and all that type of stuff I know is kind of like from The Chosen, because I still don't know the like I don't know the gospel sort of inside and out like the way that I would from my own imagination. But it is interesting to see like sort of how they were changed. He ended up in Spain. It's kind of crazy how much they traveled at the end of it.
Yeah, like St. Thomas ended up in India. He's the one, he was sold into slavery by Christ.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's like the person who went the furthest is the one who doubted. There's always a completeness in these stories.
Yeah.
Like the same with Saint Tamara, and how she was like, she had the crown and the person who had the glory was the person who made the vestments, and so she was the one who made the vestments. And it's the finishing and fulfilling.
Well, it's like Pajot talks about the how it just fills the whole hierarchy, right? Because the highest goes down and the lowest goes up, and
I suppose it's a very, very beautiful thing.
It's also very poetic, like in the sense that that is a life cycle too, right?
Yeah. Oh, actually, can I tell you my favorite one of that? This was when before I found Orthodoxy, I was going to Catholic church, and I was praying the Rosary. And like the nice thing about Catholicism is everything's a little bit more explicit. And so the mysteries you could dwell on and the verses that you had to follow during each sort of rosary prayer were out there. And I mean, I didn't have time to sort of go through Gospels myself, and so that was sort of like my indoctrination into Scripture. It was my initiation point. It was all these different points and mysteries, which is wonderful because you get the Song of Solomon, you have the baby John recognizing the Messiah, and all of these different beautiful mysteries. But to complete it is the first witness of the Messiah is Simeon, and the last witness of Christ is Simon of Cyrene. And just the two complete is like the old man who wouldn't see anything until who couldn't see until the Messiah comes. He sees the Christ child, and then the foreigner comes to carry Christ's cross that last bit of the way. And I'm just like, wow, like there is a finishing there that's beautiful. And obviously, the different people and stuff like that, but that's not what poetry is about, is it? No, it's interesting.
Have you got a poem for us, Charlie? I love poetry.
Oh, I did find actually an interesting one. I haven't written anything recently. Actually, this one. Did I show you the Everyday Saint one? I think I actually might have sent that one to Luke. I can't remember which one I sent. Oh no, I sent him the one that we talked about last time. So this one, yeah. Every day when I leave for work, most afternoons, some weekends, I drive a back road from the hills into the city, an overgrown, aged paradox, currently building, recently breaking, raining and blowing, over streams and forests, stones and homes. I see a saint. The saints are new to me. These men as stars, these arrows to the Theanthropos. I admired the way the cosmos flowed through people, writers and fighters, rebels and kings. And now I see these kintsugi men. They allowed their brokenness, their usness, their meanness to be filled with gold. This saint is not recognized. This saint is not sung. And all I know of him is that he walks where I drive. Where the world is run by lights and wheels, he is on his 2 feet, walking down a hill. When I see him, no time has passed. He walks above the secular. He walks burdened and beaming. He walks a world that has forgotten him. He walks next to a world that runs to seek the vanishing. He walks alone and silent and waves to every light that passes.
I remember you did a reading of that on your channel.
Yeah. I really loved it because like
So
that's a straight up memory. Like that's a straight up where I used to live. There's sort of in between the hill and the plain of the city where I am in Adelaide. There's like little rivulets and sort of back roads that you can find yourself from one to the other. And there's an old guy, just beardy, like white beard, shock, massive backpack on, boots, and all he's doing is just he waves at everyone that sees him, and it's like partly to go like, don't run me over, but like, it's I don't know, it's something that I
right.
And that's the kind of the way that you should see people as well, which is the interesting thing. Yeah. I'm on the stream. What's up? Sorry. I've got to tuck out in a few minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, but no, yeah, it's a place to do. I'm still figuring out sort of the place of poetry and what it means to sort of try to tie these different things, because we're sort of like pushed to come into the sort of the church and focus on the hymnodies and focus on the synaxis and sort of like humble your learning. And in Basil's letter to the poets, it's almost kind of backhanded, where he goes like, you need to be the bee because you need to read the poets, because you're not mature enough to survive on scripture alone. You're not much. It's like we're too restless if we're just given the traditions that we're given, this simple stuff. Like, it's like, you need to, okay, if you need to grow and sort of experiment and sort of be the artist, because there's that dichotomy between imagination and fancy that's always there. But it's like to be that discerning sort of person, especially when there's very explicit rules around sort of icons and chanting and hymns in the church as well.
Well, I started reading again Walt Whitman's Song of Myself.
Oh yeah, wow! You got a good passage?
Oh gosh, anyone.
You have any parts highlighted? Find a piece.
Anyone would do, actually.
Amen.
I'll find one I sent to a friend. It's kind of like that's what made me think of it. It reminded me of your saint.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, while you're looking, I will share. I was listening to Richard Rowland and Father Andrew Stephen Damick talking about what you're talking about that writing by St. Basil, the advice by St. Basil about reading the poets and the philosophers. And he was saying that he was also saying that it was a way to train you to recognize logos, right? Like, your good literature teaches you how to recognize truth and virtue. And that's a lot of its benefit. It can teach you how to read the scriptures. And
that's what an icon can do as well. Like, I mean, I don't know, I'd probably get in trouble for saying this as well, but in sort of like one of the beach towns we have, there's a Buddhist temple, and I don't know who it's depicting or what, but there's like a 20 meter tall statue, and it's of like a feminine, not a goddess, but like a bodhisattva or something like that, and she's holding a water-bearing cup, and the water is sort of being spilled out. But normally, where you have the sort of the Buddhist crown, Buddha's there. And I was like, oh, this is Theotokos and Christ. It's like, it's the world in the center. I was like, oh yeah, okay, I know that one.
Yeah. The life-giving spring. Oh yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, life-giving spring, the water. Yep. This is all the words I know. But yeah, it's like, it's the teaching you to recognize it to the center, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Sherry, you found it?
Yeah, I have a couple. A few light kisses, a few embraces, a reaching around of arms, the play of shine and shade on the trees as the supple boughs wag, the delight alone or in the rush of the streets, or along the fields and hillsides, the feeling of health, the full noon trill, the song of me rising from bed and meeting the sun. Have you reckoned 1,000 acres much? Have you reckoned the earth much? Have you practiced so long to learn to read? Have you felt so proud to get at the meaning of poems? Stop this day and night with me, and you shall possess the origin of all poems. You shall possess the good of the earth and sun. There are millions of suns left. You shall no longer take things at second or third hand, nor look through the eyes of the dead, nor feed on the specters in books. You shall not look through my eyes either, nor take things from me. You shall listen to all sides and filter them for yourself. I have heard what the talkers were talking. The talk of the beginning and the end, but I do not talk of the beginning or the end. The whole thing is about the expansiveness of the human being, right? Like, it's not about him, it's about him. It's about everything revealing, like, he is everything. It's, you know, he is the whole, he's all the suffering, he's all the joy, he's everywhere he looks, he's the tree, he's the, you know. I'll just read another little thing that I sent to a friend. A morning glory at my window satisfies me more than the metaphysics of books. To behold the daybreak. The little light fades the immense and diaphanous shadows. The air tastes good to my palate. Hefts of the moving world at innocent gambles, silently rising, freshly exuding, scooting obliquely high and low. Something I cannot see puts upward libidinous prongs. Seas of bright juice suffuse heaven. The earth by the sky stayed, with the daily close of their injunction. The heaved challenge from the east, that moment over my head. The mocking taunt, see then whether you shall be master. Dazzling and tremendous, how quick the sunrise would kill me. If I could not now and always send sunrise out of me. We also ascend, dazzling and tremendous as the sun. We found our own, my soul, in the calm and cool of the daybreak. My voice goes after what my eyes cannot reach. With the twirl of my tongue, I encompass worlds and volumes of worlds. Speech is the twin of my vision. It is unequal to measure itself. It provokes me forever. It says sarcastically, Walt, you understand enough. Why don't you let it out then? Come now, I will not be tantalized. You conceive too much of articulation. Do you not know how the buds beneath are folded, waiting in gloom, protected by frost, the dirt receding before my prophetical screams, I underlying causes to balance them at last? My knowledge, my live parts, it keeping tally with the meaning of things, happiness, which whoever hears me, let him or her set out in search of this day. My final merit refuse you. I refuse putting from me the best I am. That's a really good line. Encompass worlds, but never try to encompass me. I crowd your noisiest talk by looking toward you. Writing and talk do not prove me. I carry the plenum of my proof and everything else in my face. With the hush of my lips, I confound the topmost skeptic. I think I will do nothing for a long time but listen and accrue what I hear into myself and let sounds contribute toward me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's thunder. That's thunder. That's yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That's actually I really like that because it talks about like I used to write poetry around problems that I had
Yeah.
and like just in my teen mind, and because I was like, this will fix it, and sort of in those poems you can.
It does though. Like because I know this from my own experience. Like I would carry a really heavy burden for a long time inside of me that would weigh me down until I would write a poem, and then I would be free of it.
Completely.
So there's something very important about that.
Yeah. For me, it was like picking a scab.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really is like that. It's just like you kind of, because it's unavoidable, and a lot of the times like the problems end up being sort of because there's a contradiction or a paradox or something like that. Like there's two sides of these things and you don't know how to reconcile them, and the poem is sort of is that reconciliation.
It often tells you something you didn't know about yourself.
Yeah.
Which is so bizarre to me. Like I would read over my poems and go, oh, that's what I think?
Yeah. Oh my
And
God. Yeah.
here's something. Oh, there we
I
go.
like have a collection. Yeah.
Here's something really interesting. The Ethiopian church requires priests to do 2 years of poetry. Like they have to learn to write poetry. And I think it's a 2-year stint. And then every Sunday, a poem is written. I don't know if it's by the priest or I don't know how their hierarchy works, but and then it is read in the liturgy and then it is thrown away.
Yep.
It's never saved.
In the large churches, it's every divine liturgy. In the smaller churches, it's every high holiday.
Okay. Are you looking it up, Jeremy? See if I got that right.
No, I wasn't, but I definitely can.
Yeah,
It's
could you? Because I found
yeah,
that
it reminds me of the sand mandalas that the Buddhist monks
Yeah.
right, where
Yeah,
they make the big
absolutely.
mandalas out of sand. It takes them
there you
sometimes days. They work on it, and then at the end, they just
I
blow
had
it
that.
all off into, and they collect the sand, and then they take it down to the river and dump it in the river.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it. Actually, you do remind me. I did have something that I did write recently. It was like very, very tiny.
If anybody, Elgin, if you want to join, I'll just drop another link in here. This is an open stream. Like we're always happy for people to join. Anybody else?
It wasn't a poem. It was like this thing, but the difference between a paradox and a contradiction is the same difference between Jesus Christ and the devil. It's the easiest thing when trying to be holy is to be a hypocrite.
You know what? I got to read you something that I wrote. It was a comment I left on Martin Shaw's Substack.
Of course it is, because that guy brings out the best in everyone.
It doesn't he? Yeah,
he does. He's the best.
But it was about because it was his latest one. He wrote about the Mary. Did you?
I read that one on the Substack. That's a while. That's.
Well, he wrote a new one.
Oh, cool. Cool.
But anyway, I had so many things. Like every paragraph, I had a new thought, and I tried to put it all into one comment. Sometimes I read over my comments, and I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds like a crazy person," but whatever. This morning, I spent some much-needed time reading Walt Whitman's Song of Myself, which was that morning. His expansive account of what it means to be human has been perhaps misread as what it means to be an American. Walt may have agreed with that. I'm not sure. I try not to spend too much time reading about poets, but rather dwelling with them and letting them teach me. All the bustling scenes in the poem of men and women and children, cities and countryside, pain, sorrow, and suffering seemed to him to ring like church bells of life. If only Ivan Karamazov could have caught just a whisper of Whitman's zeal for being alive. I once told Paul Kingsnorth that I did not see him as a pessimist, because it was in a conversation we had, Nate. And he's like, everybody thinks I'm a pessimist. And I'm like, I got a different word for you. I said, but that I would describe him as terrifyingly optimistic. I believe that there is a verse in the Bible about this, where sin abounds, grace abounds much more. I have been in dark places, lost sight of this, and had to go all the way down. I probably will find myself there again. But there was always a glimpse, a little light, even in my darkest days. Even though I don't know the why of things, I remind myself that I do know the who, and he is faithful to be with me to the end. If to be held in his grace-filled embrace means to suffer, I will step forward eventually. As a weak and fearful creature, I doubt my own decisions, but I do not doubt God's Geborgenheit, which is a German word that's hard to translate. It's like this embracing security, you know.
Oh, wow.
This life is not about being merry, but about being, capital B, the Mary. There are many trolls in the deep, dark forest, and some in the plain light of day, standing on a bridge. I had several billy goats over the years, and they loved to stand on the bridge that led from the pasture to their abode, blocking my path. I tried contending with them. I always failed, and usually became a person I didn't much like in the process. I insisted on my own way, and it was this insistence that provoked their instinct to protect. One day, I realized that I could hop across the creek at any given place. I could simply ignore them and go about the business of caring for the rest of the flock. To my amazement, they did not protest, but rather came alongside as if to congratulate me for having successfully avoided the temptation of asserting myself. And I could love them. They taught me what it was like to be a child of God. They taught me by opposing me. I got to choose whether or not I took the forbidden fruit.
Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. Hey. Help against. That's the Jewish word for wife, isn't it?
Yeah. It's also the word for Satan.
Oh, of course, opposing.
The adversary.
The adversary, yeah. The friction. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
somehow
That was-
essential.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Elgin,
I-
welcome. I'm going to
Hello.
ask you. I've seen you in the comments before, but I just have to ask you, where are you calling from? And
I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana currently.
okay,
So South Louisiana, where I've been for quite a while. I know I realized, I think, like, when I first I don't even know how I really stumbled on to the stream, to be in full disclosure. I know Paul Vanderklee guided me here somehow, and I spent like many weeks actually, and I have like I'm pretty sickly, so I spend many evenings just kind of lying in bed, and I just kept stumbling through the stream, and then one day I remember I said hi, and I felt like I saw like this sort of look of terror in both of your eyes. It was like who is this person that's like listening in, eavesdropping on us, like on our private thing?
Yeah.
So compelled to kind of embody my and say hi, even though I don't know if I have a whole lot
No,
to
welcome,
add.
man.
Yeah.
Paul Vanderguy is a gateway drug.
Yeah, right. He's sort of my de facto online pastor, I guess.
right.
Oh man, yeah, he was like that for so many years for me. It's wonderful. Have you had a conversation with him yet?
No, I have not. No. I just like lurk in. I just lurk in the shadows. I'm on like
It's so nice to have
many
you
a
with
Discord, just like sitting in the shadows, like like wondering if I should like into these like flame wars.
Yeah.
Popping up
Yeah,
everywhere.
cool.
And
That's awesome.
biting my tongue, because it's probably for the best, that I don't.
Yeah.
I just sort of exist in like this liminal space. So this is perfect for me.
Yeah.
But
That's awesome.
I love Whitman as well. We just, in my book club, we just read a bunch of him. So I was like looking for like all my notes or whatever. But,
Oh, cool. What did you read? What did you read from Whitman?
I mean, obviously, selections from Song of, and we usually do pairings. I can't even remember who we paired him with. We'll like some kind of philosophical, sort of like.
Yeah, they talked about Whitman. Yeah, they talked about Whitman with Ian McGilchrist and Peterson talked about Whitman. It was like the once upon a merry sight. I saw the world apparelled in celestial light, the glory and the freshness of a dream, and that's like that's poetry, man. It's just
I know
like
those lines just like wash over you, like with like just like the utmost just joy, and just like I don't know.
my favorite is still from Breaking Bad. in perfect sat in perfect silence at the stars. It's just like, yep, been there. Oh man.
I just wanted to ask Jeremy, did you find anything on the Ethiopian?
Yes, I did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let me share my screen. I'm just guessing it's Keen, but I don't know for sure if that's how it's pronounced.
Kine.
Kine.
Oh, wait, no, that's Greek. No, that's Greek.
Oh,
Never
okay.
mind.
A genre of improvised oral poetry from Ethiopia. The genre originates in the Ethiopian Orthodox thank you, Twahido, which historically provided traditional religious education, including the composition of kine. Its origins are supposed to date back to the 14th century. The defining characteristic is a literary device which uses ambiguity to layer hidden meanings within the text. The term refers to an obvious meaning, the wax, above a deeper meaning, the gold. In the process of goldsmithing, a clay cast is made around wax, after which the wax is drained and the molten gold is poured into the cast. This device is similar to a double entendre and is predicated on multiple meanings of individual words or sentences. Christ did that a lot too. So
that's yeah, everything did that. It's the wax and the gold. I'm writing that down. Stealing that. Good lesson for oral poetry. Steal as much as you can.
Yeah.
As
yeah.
Paul van der Klee says, they're thieves.
So
that's
wait,
yeah.
I missed. I got a stupid phone call. So
there's two layers of meaning, Shari, in every poem, and they call it the wax and the gold. The wax is the layer of meaning above, and the gold is the layer of meaning below, because that's how you cast gold.
Yeah,
it says
use
in
a
the process
mold.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was like, Shari's definitely going like, yeah, I get it.
Well, my brother is actually a goldsmith. Oh, he's a jeweler, and he carves.
Ooh, tell us more.
He carves waxes for jewelry and creates jewelry with.
That's amazing. So yeah, there's the wax and the gold.
So I actually know the process. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so beautiful.
So it doesn't say anything about, but it does say it's improvised oral poetry. So that would imply that it's not, that it's ephemeral.
That's they would work on it in the week, and then, but they would, I don't think they'd be like reciting it or something like that, and they would burn a piece of paper or something like that. They would just have the structure sort of in their mind.
Well, they have
that's like the ones that
they have the House of Poetry there, right? The rules and style of Kene are historically taught as part of religious education in the level of schooling known as Kene Bet, House of Poetry. But I watched a little. There's actually an Orthodox deacon on YouTube who talks. An Ethiopian Orthodox deacon.
Enoch.
I don't know the name. I can't remember, but he talks about the reading of it and then the throwing away of it.
Well, that's Christianity. It's like loving with an open hand. It's just that's so wonderful. It's interesting as well. I want to be as a writer personally. I want to care more about form than I do. I feel like I spend a lot of time sort of focusing almost too much on words.
Not a lot of form in this poem.
Yeah.
I took a lot of heart from that. It's like just writing. Writing. And I do a lot of ... because I think I'm a tangential thinker. So one thought will provoke another, and that's what happened to me in the comment. I didn't know I was going to talk about the billy goats on the bridge.
That's so good. That's so good.
No.
Yeah. It's a real tangible way to understand things. That's amazing. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you write, Theologian?
I do.
Do you have anything?
Yeah.
Oh, not prepared.
Yeah. If you could find it, I gotta go soon, but I'll listen to it.
I feel like when I was younger, I wrote wrote and wrote, and so I ended up like losing the use of my hands for like 5-10 years or so, like productive use basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I had some way to like sort of like to get the words out from my mouth. There's like some kind of short circuit that I can with my hands. You know, I feel like when I used to type, I used to type furiously, like, you know, like even from a young age, I would type like at like 6 years old, like a little whiz kid. And there was just a way to sort of like get the thoughts like out onto the paper, like just and I find now that it's just such a tedious, like laborious task, like to get.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I don't know if maybe the poetry just sort of like I've always had like a sort of a reverence for it, you know. So I want something that's sort of, you know,
completely.
Build, you know, I don't want to just write to write.
Oh yeah, that's hard.
And I find I don't know if it's just the older I get, the less I feel inspired. That the sort of the whatever wisdom I feel I've gained in life, I just feel it's almost not communicatable, like not communicable, to where I just don't feel like writing anymore. I don't know. So I've been doing more translation than anything.
Oh wow.
What are you translating? French?
Translating. I'm putting together an anthology of like the late 19th century decadent French poets and writers. So maybe like Baudelaire, through Heisman, or like the fin de siècle guys. I remember reading that in college and really enjoying them a lot. And so I picked up like translations, and everything just seems so dry and dull. And I was like, well, I guess I could do better than that. And
yeah.
So I just started to mess with it, and so
that's like become a whole.
That
is one of the
basically.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the most important things to get people to get your writing is going. You're like, I can do it.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I think I have a sort of affinity for these guys.
Yeah, I think that's
in a lot of ways. They sort of mirror sort of like journey, I think, spiritually. Like if you think a lot of these, a lot of those very decadent French cohort, they a lot of them, you know, at some point. Like Rimbaud was a devout Catholic on his deathbed. Was Verlaine possibly? You know, he was always writing his Catholic poetry and also his like homoerotic stuff at the same time.
Yeah, they're extreme runners.
Yeah, they went all the way. You know, I think
isn't Marquis de Sade
that decadent spirit, and they ended up right in the arms of God and the Lord.
Is Marquis de Sade 19th century?
No, that would be a lot. That would be like I don't know when.
Oh, good. He's terrifying.
Yeah, earlier.
He's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't nobody read him ever for any useful reason. There is nothing.
Yeah. It's.
I just wanted to mention the feeling that you get. Like I was reading some of Rilke. I've got some of Rilke's poetry.
Oh, he's great.
In books that are both in his original German and then translated.
Yeah, you'd be able to read it.
And and I'm reading the translations. I'm like, this is not what he's saying.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, you know. So I actually went on, because I don't write German. I only I speak Swiss German, but I can read and understand High German. So I had to use Google Translate, right? So me and Google Translate, we retranslated some of Rilke's poems, and they're so much better.
Oh, yeah.
Than the way that, you know, because they take so much license. And I feel like it's a bit of a dumbing down of the reader. It's like, oh, you know, I'm gonna make this easy for people to understand, but they take away the nuance. And I mean, and German is just so it's such a great language for poetry,
Mm.
like it's not
So
it's not lost on me that a lot of philosophy and great poets and mysticism came out of Germany, like just but anyway, and they've got
actually, yeah, German has a lot of wax and gold. It's like a lot of like discrete and doubles, like in every word.
And they can invent compound words, like they can just they can just stick stuff together and it's a word.
Yeah.
I think like with Heidegger, that's a lot of Heidegger is just his use of nominalism.
Well, it's really interesting that they don't even try to translate his German words into English.
No, yeah,
Right,
They use them in German because they have Mensch in German is just when you say a man or a human or a person, like we've got several different words to describe a person, but in German it's Mensch, and it means all of those things at once. Like it really has that what Barfield would call that sense of original participation. The wind, the word in Greek for wind, breath, and spirit was one word, pneuma. Right? And so when you use the word Mensch in German, you're saying all those things at once.
Yeah, they all every word has so much cultural baggage, and it's really difficult to translate. I guess there's different schools of thoughts too. Like is a literal translation even accurate?
No.
And there's
you have to at some point you do have to take some liberty in order to sort of convey it within the context of the
but
absolutely, but like music is necessary.
Right, like, the prosody and everything is
the two sides of like language. Like I remember reading this in the McGilchrist thing, is like on one hemisphere there's words and there's the categories, and on the other hemisphere there's music. Like there's the reason why all language centers were left hemisphere dominant is because the right hemisphere was using a generalist's was generalizing its entire thing, because it was the music that was necessary that came through, and that's the hardest thing to transfer from language to language. Like you can travel most of the meaning across in most poetry, but like to bring the music that lets you arrive at the words when you need to be there, like that's so much harder. And it's like there's different ways that languages do that. It's like the ways that languages are built matter to the things that are part of it. And there's so much more you can find when you learn other languages. Like I love finding the time to sort of learn another language through a poem, like or even like because Christ is risen. We went through the prayer of Saint Ephrem, and the prayer of Saint Ephrem, I was like, it's really short. Like I'll just say the first. I was like, Lord and Master of my life, take from me the spirit of despair, sloth, lust for power, and idle thought, or talk. Yeah, or rather, give unto me the spirit of chastity, humility, patience, and love. And that's a beautiful like prayer. And there's another part of it, but in Kine, it's, and I'm going to get the pronunciation wrong. All my Greeks, please be careful. It says, Kyrie kai despota tizoismo, nevma de agias perergias vlakias kai agologias memoidos. Nevma de sophrosinis, tapenophrosinis, ipomonis kai agapis charisaimoi tosodol. And like, that's a lot of stuff, especially when you don't have those contexts. But first of all, everything is grouped. Agias periergias philakias kai. Like there's the same flavor that they run through. And then like just immediately, sophrosinis is chastity. I never knew that in Greek, but sophroni is wisdom. And when you come from like a Western mindset of what chastity is almost so much more, so one-dimensional
Yes.
than
I'm glad you're saying
wisdom.
just like I've been wanting to have a conversation about chastity for so long because it has nothing to do, like very little to
Yeah,
do.
it's not holding back. It's not holding back at all.
Mhm.
It's much more difficult to explain than that. I have to go, but I will see you guys again next week. Or
Thanks, Trevor.
when you guys finish on Fairy Stories, Shari, let's do Mythopoeia, because I would love to do that.
Okay.
See you guys.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. I was looking for I found my translation of a Rilke poem, but it doesn't really make any sense to read it because I can't but I can read it just because it's an incredibly beautiful poem. But
Right.
I remember some of the places that I changed it. So this is such you'll love this, Jeremy. It's so beautiful. I am too alone in the world, and yet not alone enough to consecrate every hour. I am too small in the world, and yet not small enough to be in front of you like a thing, dark and clever. I want my will and want to accompany my will through paths to action. And I want, in quiet, somehow hesitant times, when something approaches, to be among those who know or alone. I always want to reflect you in full form, and I never want to be blind or too old to hold your heavy, swaying image. I want to unfold. I don't want to stay bent anywhere, for there I am a lie where I am bent. And I want my sense true before you. I want to describe myself like a picture I saw, long and near, like a word I understood, like my everyday mug, like my mother's face, like a ship that carried me through the deadliest storm. And I remember when I was doing it, that line, I want my will and want to accompany my will through paths to action. In, in German, you have the same word for I want to, I will, and my will.
Mm.
So he would say something like, Ich will meine Willen, and I want to accompany my will, and ich will, I don't know the High German word, it's mitgehen or something like that, mit meinem Wille, So it feels like a meander when he's saying it in German.
Yeah.
And then he adds through paths to action. And so when I was reading it in German, I could almost imagine him walking a path and thinking about it as his will, right? Ich will meine Willen,
And walking with it.
and walking with it because this has to come out of this, right?
Yeah.
The body. And everybody wanted to turn it into some kind of like explicit idea about the will and the walking, and you lost the meander in the language,
Yeah.
So I tried to keep that. And then the other one that I remember too was I want to unfold, period. That's in the German. I don't want to stay bent anywhere, for there I am a lie where I am bent. And
that's nice.
It's so beautiful. And all of the translations I read made I want to unfold, I don't want to stay bent. They made it all one sentence. I'm like, no. You have to stop.
Mm-hmm.
I want to unfold, period. Leave it there,
Yeah.
Those
are the two things I remember mostly. Yeah.
You need to do your translation of the Rilke. You need to do your translation of the Rilke, I think.
Yeah, that's what a friend of mine told me too.
Very fruitful.
Yeah, it was. I just had to try it because I was
if you see it, and obviously maybe they're seeing something else in it, or or trying to add something to it that may or may not be there. It's a difficult, and ultimately, it's in a way fail, but it's worth it if you can try to transmit these things into
Yeah, and what I wanted to
various
say about
diasporas.
that is that there has to be, like, I wonder about some of the translations, if people do them out of love for the poetry or the person, like Rilke, or if
Or
they do it because they got commissioned to do it. Because if that's the case, you have to, like you said it, Elgin, you said, I really feel like I know these men, right? So there's an empathic resonance,
right,
right?
to some
That
extent, or
needs to,
it may be
yeah.
diluted, but yeah, I feel like
I don't know
I've
if it's
seen
delusion.
something with them.
I don't know.
Um,
Some
but
some
I
poets,
mean, Nabokov talked about it too. Like like it's like a I don't know what the quote is. I'm sure it was much better, well worded than I could do. He's like there's a special part in hell for translators that try to like it's like your ego gets involved, and you feel it, if there's an awkward turn of phrase in the original, you want to sort of like clean it up and make it sound nice and package it all nicely. So, and also so you look good as well. Like there's a lot of egotism involved, I think.
yeah,
It's difficult. It's going to reflect upon you as the translator as well. But you just have to sort of take that and bear it, to be honest about about that, what you're trying to transmit,
yeah,
and not insert yourself into it in any way,
yeah.
as much as you can, which you can't. But
When I was learning, because I learned how to speak Swiss German, which is not a written language, and so I had to listen for like 2 years, and then after a couple of years, I was able to speak. And what I first came up with, actually, when I was learning it, when I was listening, I would first, everything sounded like one big word, right? A whole sentence was like a word. And then I'm like, oh, that's a word. Oh, that's a word, but they would be in, weird spots. I didn't know what the middle was, but I could hear the words on the end or something. And then I started learning phrases, bits. And then I was like, oh, okay. So I hear that phrase in there, but I didn't know what the words on either side meant. Tense was the hardest thing to, it was kind of the last thing you learn. And so that's how it was with like piecemeal. And I was often literally translating the words in my mind, which my husband is
it's
Swiss.
slow.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing, because German is really old. It's really primordial. Like, here's an example, just to give you an idea. The word for a lighter, that you use to light a cigar, is Feuerzeug, which is fire thing.
Mm.
Okay. I like
Perfect.
Yeah,
I
right.
like fire things so much.
Yeah.
I'm just like, let's
Well,
call it
you,
that.
right.
You could just see a bunch of Neanderthals, pass me that fire
Right.
thing. So anyway, and oftentimes I could etymologically follow a word that my husband had lost that ability for, because he wasn't thinking about it literally anymore. It was lost. It was ossified. It got shiny and hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I would hear the literal translation, and I could follow it in my mind to, oh, that's interesting. I also happen to be a lover of language, so
Me
it's
too.
it's what I do. But and so I found, like, that translation that I read you, mine, is almost completely a literal translation. And it's, to me, and I wish I could find my book to give you the other translation. It's, maybe this isn't possible in French or Spanish or whatever, but I find it way more effective in German, because German is old. I mean, their word for ancient is 2 letters. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ur. That's it. You are. That means ancient.
That's interesting, because that's tied to Babylon, or that's tied to Abraham. Sorry, Abraham was from Ur.
Was he?
Yeah.
Was it? Oh, wasn't Uz? It was Ur.
No, it was Ur.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ur of the Chaldeans.
So it was like one of the oldest. Yeah, Ur of the Chaldees. Yeah.
Right.
It's the birthplace of Abraham.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's in Iraq. And yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that ties right. That's a very old reference. You know, it was like because that was the beginning of the covenant, the Abrahamic covenant.
Right. And okay, so a
So
child in German.
So it ties, yeah. What's
a
that?
A child in German is a kind. Kind.
Yeah.
In English, we have kin. We also have kind.
Yes.
Of the like kind, right? That's
Right.
That's a tribal reference.
Yeah.
Like these are the things about German that I mean are so all encompassing, because in English we make up more words, so we can be really precise. In German, it's understood. The child is your relative, is of your kind, of your tribe.
Right.
The kind. And in a place where there are a lot of children all at once is a children's garden, a kindergarten.
Kindergarten. Yeah.
Right? Like, I love that about German.
Yeah.
It's just really pedestrian, and it has this, in Swiss they say urkig, which means, kind of like, well, the Swiss also say bodenständig, means standing on the floor. Boden is floor and ständig is standing, right? So something that is standing on the floor we would say grounded.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of the meaning behind orthros too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so orthros is before divine liturgy. It's the prayer service getting you ready for divine liturgy, and it's like standing properly. Orthros has that meaning, like standing upright.
Yeah.
Standing properly upright.
Well, something that's bodenständig, it can be a dish, it can be food, it can be philosophy, it can be a piece of furniture. Yeah, all those things. It's something that is foundational, by design, right?
Yeah.
That keeps you standing on the floor, connected,
right
on the ground. So I don't know. I just, in my mind, when I'm translating, and I do this just automatically in my own head, I like to hear that literalness of the German, because it takes me back to, some chieftain and, in a thatched Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah, we have the same linguistic roots as well.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And German, you can also do, like French and the Latin languages, they do a lot of reversal of the grammar. But German is almost super easy to translate into English, because it follows a similar pattern.
Structure, yeah.
I believe that, yeah.
So I grabbed this when I went inside and grabbed my Bible. There was another book sitting there, and I didn't know why I grabbed it, but now I think I do. It's the Hilliand.
Oh, you got it.
I did, and I read this during Great Lent, and I absolutely loved it. I am in love with this book.
Do we need to talk about it then?
I would love to.
We can we just pause the Saints, or maybe?
Yeah, sure.
And then we could do a wander through the Helliand for a few episodes.
Yeah, that's fine. That would be great with me. That would be. I'm totally open to that, because I have just. It's like getting reintroduced to, like you were talking about your husband, the meaning, or the stories, or like the meanings of the words has been ossified because of his familiarity with them, right? He already has these like subconscious associations. And I feel like that with the Gospels a lot, because I grew up very deeply, like we read the scriptures a lot when I was young, as a family and individually. I studied the scriptures a lot, and so I'm very familiar, but at the same time, it's almost like it feels too familiar because I feel like I know what's coming next, even though the disciples had no idea what was coming next. Anytime Christ would speak, they're just like,
Yeah, yeah.
whoa, what? We asked you about this, and you're talking about this other thing. What are you talking about? They were constantly confused. And I feel that because of my familiarity with the stories, that they've become a little, they've become too, not trite is the word, but too familiar.
Yeah.
And so the Hellion was a really nice kind of like, it was a really great way to come back to the stories of the gospel through a different lens, through a different cultural context. And it's one that's more familiar to me because of its more recency, I think, even though it's still 1,000 years ago, it's still, because it is Anglo-Saxon and it's not Middle Eastern, or it's not Near Eastern, I'm not Semitic,
Right.
I'm Anglo-Saxon, and so to read this through the lens of my ancestors was like a whole new experience of the gospel. It was a really great way to go through Great Lent. It was very meaningful to me. And I found myself really very moved, even by certain turns of phrase, that I had just, it was very beautiful. It was a really, obviously it's a translation. I'm not reading it in Old Saxon, but it's a lovely translation. And they seem to have kept a lot of the strangeness of the language and the really, like I said, the beautiful little turns of phrase and the little beautiful juxtapositions and paradoxes, it's just really, really, really great.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of something that's on Martin Shaw's heart, because he's a storyteller, right? So he tells like ancient stories, fairy tales, like all kinds of, but old stories, archetypal stories, but I know he hates that word. But he wants to learn to tell the gospel stories in that way, because that's what we need. We really need to, and Jonathan Pajot's talked about this, I've talked about it, steal back the words and give them a fresh coat of paint. It's kind of like bring attention to them in a way that is just it's like George MacDonald says, I don't want to give you the meaning of my stories. I want to wake up something in you. That's what I want. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've kind of been attempting with my music lately as well. At least it's the project that I most recently done. Because these things, they need to be retold every age, and there's something resonant about that through all the time. Obviously, although we're still talking about it. It's still the only thing that's really, it's the only hope of salvation we might have, whatever our ideological trappings.
Right.
Yeah, I've gotten. I think I have Martin Shaw on my reading list. I think from you actually.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to read the Courting the Wild Swan.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, which
I love that book.
Recommended actually.
I love that book.
It's definitely like the next thing on my list for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to give that to my daughter as a graduation present.
That's a good idea. I should. I'm always looking for something I can just give to all the kids. I have one daughter who refuses to read.
I'm going to do the audiobook, I think.
Yeah.
I get like constant headaches, so it's like I read less and less these days. But
yeah, well, you know what? The audiobook of The Wild Twin is stellar because he reads
He's got a great, he's just got a great voice.
It's the best. Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, you sound like you're a very creative person, Elgin. You've got music going on and writing and
I try to. Well, it's the only thing that I really have to add of any beauty or value to this world, and it's always been very important to me.
I get
my
that.
vein and selfish striving, put something of myself and have it, endure in some sense, beyond
Yeah, well, I
my
don't know
pale
how.
existence. Right.
I always wonder though about the writer, because to write, I'm going to use foul language, okay? So anybody
That's
who's
fine.
I'm just.
I'm a foul
But
mouthed individual.
Charles Bukowski once said, somebody asked him, he took them to, it was a reporter, and he took them to show him where he writes, and she was like, "Oh, this is it. This is where you write." And he's like, paused for a long time, and he goes, "This is where I fuck myself." And that's how I feel about writing for me anyways. Like it's always been a revelation writing something. I write it, I don't know how I got there, I don't know why I said it. It says something to me, something that like and it I don't know, maybe I'm just projecting my own things onto it.
You're
I'm
rolling
kind
in the dust and the mire, and then you just have this thing that has to get out. And
I'm kind of
I,
terrified. I'm kind of
I'm
terrified
beating
of
my head against the wall until I can just get it out somehow. Just get
yeah.
it out into the
So
world.
I
But it
don't know
has to
how
be.
vain that is. Like, honestly, like it's more like you haven't got a choice. Like if that's the way that you know what I mean? Like,
It's like the vanity of being pregnant. Right?
True.
oh, there you
But
go.
there's the deal with the, I mean,
Oh
like,
my God, you're a
we're
poet.
all born into sin. You know what I mean? Like, you're still like, there still is this sort of the wrestling, I think, with God. To
Yeah, and it
the
is
wrestling of the
interesting.
fire from the gods or something. Like there's I don't know
Well,
how there's a lot. There's a lot going on in the whole process, and it's mysterious and
it's
there,
it's
there,
very
there,
it's very
there's
it
good
is
and bad, and everything is just sort of all tied up and inextricable in some ways.
mm-hmm.
And then you say these things, and then you go to so much energy to invest them with truth and gravitas, and a year later you might look back at it and be like, what was I was I on about? What was like, what is this even? But like once you spoke them, you try so hard to make it true,
Yes.
and you just hope that you have some, like, your antenna is functioning properly, and
Well, I just assume that I don't know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
That's what I do. And I'm always really, it's kind of like,
I mean,
I don't know if you ever did those,
stream of
little
consciousness.
scratchy things when you were a kid. You scratch the thing off and then something appears. That's what it feels like to me when I write something. I'm scratching away, and then all of a sudden something, it reveals itself to me, and I'm like, oh. So it's both necessary to me, like it feels like I haven't got a choice. It's also terrifying because I don't know what's going to show itself to me.
Right.
And I enter a space that is very uncomfortably otherworldly.
Yeah, and sometimes I worry what's coming through me. Like it's hard to.
I don't worry about that so much, but it's just like when I'm done, I get up and
Well,
I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. It like I'm in a real place. Like it doesn't feel like I feel very ethereal when I'm writing a poem, and then I have to wake up to the place where I am. And sometimes that transition takes a little while, depends on what I wrote. It goes a long time sometimes, and I don't like being there.
what is it? Joanna Newsom, like, don't draw so close to the heat that you forget that you must eat.
That's what it is, yeah.
So,
And I've
that's just a good line.
I've suffered some severe depression, and I think I'm like just a little on the worried side about being there again,
Well, Hades is the land of the dead, right? And it's where you go when you leave it's the first place you go where you leave your body, right? But it's like, yeah, I think I think what you're talking about sounds like that. It sounds like Hades. It sounds like
Well, I
it's the
related
land of the dead,
Bukowski,
right? It's
so it
not.
must be a little bit of hell.
What's that?
I said I totally related to Bukowski, so it must
Yeah.
feel, for me, it's a bit of hell, right?
Yeah. Well, and Annie Dillard said that too. She said when she writes, it's like cutting herself open and then catching the blood on the page.
Exactly.
Right?
It's not fun. Like it's
no.
really, it's not.
It's
It's
hard.
not fun.
You have to bleed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
To
suffering.
make anything in this world. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, like in that thing that I wrote to Martin Shaw, I wrote, if being in the grace-filled embrace of God means suffering, I'll step into it eventually.
Yeah.
Not like running or anything.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's like Saint Odrin, right? Where he was like, "You need somebody for the foundation. I guess I'll do it."
So good, Jeremy. It's good.
Yeah,
That is really true.
I'll do the right thing as soon as I've exhausted all the other options.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I've experienced life. And try to make amends. At this point. But yes, it was very nice to enjoy this space with y'all for a little while.
Yes, very nice to meet
I'm
you.
glad that you
Very
came
much out of my comfort zone, but it's good for me actually.
Good.
I'm actually going to be doing like a live stream in a couple of days, like on my forward facing channel, and I just need to kind of get used to. Yeah, I've said about I'm going to do like a concert series, just from my living room basically.
Okay.
But I'm doing like a test stream on Thursday just to kind of
do you
test
have
out YouTube because I'm not really
your
very
channel?
familiar with any of it.
do you have a what is your YouTube channel? I need to
It would be at Nick Duet, so NICKDOUET. And I can I'll put a little link or something.
Put the link in the chat.
Or something,
Put it in this chat. You can do it. I think.
Okay, I think I have it on my phone going.
Say it again, Nick.
Nick Duet.
DUET.
DOUET. So it's my last name.
OUET.
And that's like my actually forward facing channel. This is sort of like this is me doxing myself right here now. But
have you got the link, Jeremy? Can you throw
Yep,
it?
just posted it.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah, because I think I don't know, my phone's about dead. I believe that. Yeah, I believe that's correct. Yeah, and yeah, I play very somber, very kind of spiritually minded, dark music, and I find that when I have a good audience, all goes well. But there's not a lot of spaces for that, like out in the world. Like you can't, at a bar or even a coffee shop, it might not be the proper space. So I thought, I'll just set up my own little space, and I will do it online. And then it's very easy to just log into YouTube, and there's not much involved. So
is that okay?
Maybe that's the way to go now.
Have you posted some of your stuff on the Grail Country Discord?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Oh, I've listened to it.
Yeah. So I have an album called Anadonia.
Anadonia.
And that I'm actually getting pressed to vinyl right now. I'm waiting for the test pressings to come back.
That's great.
But yeah, it's I guess it's not as complicated as I want to put it, but it's essentially taking I guess in sort of Whitman does take sort of the journey through the gospel, relating it to my experience of trying to find a sense of meaning and purpose in spite of and through the misery and the suffering of illness and like just a kind of like a deep sort of like lifelong struggle with depression and on all those things. So I guess, metaphorically, like I'm digging my own grave and consecrating the ground, sending my demons out into the world.
That's what
And saying prayer, and praising, and laying myself into the grave and rising up again, and the logos. So there's like a sort of a whole journey from beginning to end, and I like the idea of having it on vinyl. So it's actually like something that you sit and you like listen from like beginning to end.
That's great.
In this commoditized sort of like Spotify world, it really is. I don't know if it's going to get much traction on streaming or anything, or that it would be something that even I would stream if it was like in my queue.
Yeah. Cool.
So trying to just carve out a little space to do this work. And hopefully find an audience for something which is obviously like a niche sort of project.
Well, you're speaking language that I think we're all familiar with in this.
Well, I know that's why I think I've been drawn to grow the you in the Discord, and I feel it's like a great affinity for you guys and a lot of the people.
Nice. Oh, that's lovely to hear.
Yeah. Just trying to overcome my natural shyness and try not to like burn up in exposure,
Oh man,
Well, you're here. You made it in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, here we say no.
Yeah. Our audience of 4 is in our conversation.
Perfect.
We're up to 5 now, so that's a good place to start. It's
more than one person at a time. Like I'm great, like one-on-one, and then like when I have to start triangulating between people, I don't know, it gets tough. I can't. I'm too neurotic. I'm way too neurotic to be online. Like I just do not like it. Trying to find some hybrid existence between that, and we're obviously like you have to be.
Well, I think
if you're an artist or musician in these days,
online, I think
respect.
I think that opening up a creative space is a good way to do that.
Right.
Like there's so like Whitman said in exactly what Whitman said here in the thing that I read. Where is that now? Because it's this one. Writing and talk do not prove me. I carry the plenum of proof and everything else in my face. With the hush of my lips, I confound the topmost skeptic. I think I will do nothing for a long time but listen and accrue what I hear into myself, and let sounds contribute toward me. So
that's beautiful.
I know.
I was reading in St. Isaac the Syrian this morning, and he was saying something really similar. It was so beautiful, and I can't do justice to his words, but it was something along the idea of like you have to, once you find stillness and you learn how to keep your senses from venturing out into the world, is the way he put it. Once you learn how to do that, then he said your soul opens up, and you find out how much richness there is inside of you. And he said, and all of you're asking yourself, how did I learn these things? And no one taught them to me. It's so beautiful. I'll have that passage next time. I'll bring it to the show.
Please do.
It's so beautiful. It was so really nice.
Yeah.
It was a nice way to start the morning.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we're gonna close it up. My husband's home. Jeremy has to go to bed.
Yep.
Elgin's ready to go.
Yeah, I must put food in my stomach.
So let's start digging through the Hellion. We'll.
I'm going to schedule the next one for the Hellion.
Great. So, and we have 2 different translations, so that will be interesting as well.
Okay, who's your translator?
Mine is Mariana Scott.
Well, I heard from Martin that this is the guy, G. Ronald Murphy.
Okay. Well, I guess I got the schlub version because I'm a recalcitrant student. So.
Maybe I'll try to read it in Old Saxon.
You know what? When I picked this up, I thought I gotta learn Old Saxon. I'm like that, Like I wanted to learn how to spin wool, so I bought sheep.
There you go.
Anyway. All right. Well, thank you everybody for. Oh, you have the book? You have that book, Don? Oh, you got to join us. We're gonna do it for a while.
I would love that. That sounds really fun.
I'm super excited. Yeah. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Elgin, for jumping in, and maybe we'll see you next time again. And, thank you, Jeremy, for everything.
It was a pleasure. Thanks a lot. It was nice to meet you, Elgin. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to meet y'all too. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Christ is risen.
Christ is risen.